From WTLF and the Lapsed Entertainment Group, it's This American Work, one McMahon's story, told week by week. I'm Nasal Gas. This American Work, I'm Nasal Gas. And last time we were with you, it didn't end in the most flattering way, not only for Vince McMahon, but for myself. And I have to express right off the top some degree of remorse for how out of control the discussion got as we probed into the abuse that Vince McMahon suffered as a young man and potential consequences and ramifications for that throughout his life. Perhaps it has no small part in why we're sitting here today with him on the outs of the company he helped send to the moon in so many ways. And so I want to apologize off the top for my insensitivity on a matter that deserved greater sensitivity. And I hope, Mr. McMahon, that you'll accept my apology and accept that I see the journey ahead on This American Work as an equal chance for me to grow as much as anything, as much as it is to learn from you and hear from you and get your story finally once and for all. So I do want to say I apologize for how that turned out, and I'm grateful that you saw fit to sit back down with us and continue on this journey.
Okay.
So when you told Playboy you wanted to stuff leaves into a girl's pussy, what was that about?
Well, I've always had a very fascination with the different experimental variations of sexual intercourse. And I do believe that that one of life's great mysteries, especially as a heterosexual male, is what can fit inside of a pussy. And I believe anything can fit, and I believe anything should fit, and I believe that there are women out there who share my experimental nature, and they want someone like me to discover, can a coffee cup fit inside the pussy? Can we put a high-heeled shoe inside of a pussy? This is disgusting. This is disgusting. Don't you think this is a little ridiculous, a little uncalled for? Listen. I'm here. I'm calm. I'm simply telling you the truth. And so now you don't want the truth. Now you want me to sit here and
all right. I'll step back.
So what do you want? See, here we're back here again because you ask me a question, I give you an honest answer from one of my truths, and you simply just go off and you call it like. So where's our safe space? Because I don't feel a safe space here right now. I feel very much on edge. Walls are building back up again.
I mean, if nothing, I'm protecting you from yourself because that level of detail I didn't ask for. And you see, I only want the details I ask for, Vince.
I see.
You're only giving me the details I don't. So you only want what you want.
You don't want the truth. You just want whatever fits into your little fucking window.
No, there's no window. There's just
there's a window.
Narrator.
There's a window.
It's my job to bring the story along.
Window.
Yes. It's my job to bring the story along in a way that's most engaging and illuminating for the listener. I'm in service to the listener, and the listener doesn't need to hear that. We need to progress.
You don't know what the fucking listener needs.
What else did you put?
I know what they need. I know exactly what they need. I know what they want. I know what they need, and I know exactly
what they need
how to give it to them.
When did you lose your virginity?
Well, that's a very good question. There was when.
Were you at a very young age?
I probably was like 10, 9, maybe. Something like that.
You told Playboy probably in the first grade. You remember being invited to a matinee film.
So first grade, so I would have been I'd have been 7 years old. Yes, that's about right.
Being invited to a matinee film with your stepbrother and his girlfriends, and you remember I guess his girlfriend's playing with your penis.
Yes, they there was an appeal of playing with a young boy's diddle monster.
That's that's a name I've never heard of before for that thing.
Well, I certainly, listen, any young boy who's had their penis touched by a young woman or a young man, whatever your personal preference is, I'll tell you, it is a good feeling. It's a feeling that makes you realize there are good things in this world.
Said you remembered those girls playing with your penis and you giggling. You thought it was pretty cool, and that was your initiation into sex. You said at that age you don't necessarily achieve an erection, but it was cool.
Oh, I achieved a massive erection.
And around that same time, you said there was a girl at my age who was, in essence, my cousin. Later in life, she wound up marrying that asshole, Leo Lupton, my stepfather. And you had sex with her, I guess. Maybe that was the loss of your virginity.
It could have been. I believe that, what people may not know about Vince McMahon is that from a very young age, I had a genetic jackhammer. And I could pound away at a woman's vagina or her anus, for that matter. There are multiple entry points in the game of sex, yes, I can probably say that, I was very sexually active from the moment that my stepbrother's girlfriends were playing with my little diddle monster. And from then on, it was like, well, if they want to play with it, what else can I do with it? Can I put it in someone's mouth? Yes, I can. Can I put it in someone between their legs? Yes, I can. Can I put it between someone's tits? Yes, I can. It was a miracle, really. An absolute miracle.
And in a lot of ways where it all started then.
Or what started?
I just want to see where you went with that.
Huh? What do you mean?
So this girl, your cousin that later married your stepfather, you told Playboy, you remember the two of you guys being so curious about each other's bodies, but not knowing what the hell to do. Quote, we would go into the woods and get naked together. It felt good. And for some reason, I wanted to put crushed leaves into her.
Yes, I felt that would be a very curious, endeavor, to kind of see what it felt like to put leaves inside a vagina, and then also at the same time to see how she felt with the crinkling, crispy leaves inside her wet pussy.
Absolutely disgusting and revolting. And
listen, you want the fucking truth? I'm here to tell you.
And a cousin of yours, no less.
What's a cousin?
I know.
What's a cousin?
Someone, I don't know, a relative, the child.
Listen. I'm telling you, all right? We went over this last time. We do not know who puts together we don't know who our family is. We have to trust people. I don't know if my birth certificate's legal. I don't know if your birth certificate's legal. I don't know if you're legal. All right? We are here to decide and figure out exactly what happened in my life, right? And so we don't know if she was a blood cousin or if it was a cousin by marriage. We don't know these things. All we know is that there were actions of a sexual nature that happened between the two of us. And it was good. And it was beautiful.
You'd mentioned, or we talked about last time, dyslexia and other perhaps learning disabilities. And you told Playboy when your son Shane had alleged learning disabilities in high school, he was put on Ritalin. However, when you were in school...
I'm sorry, who are you? Who?
You told Playboy your son Shane had...
I don't have a son Shane.
Yeah, we're not going to get very far if you don't acknowledge the existence.
I don't have a son, Shane. There's no, you can check the birth records. There's no Shane McMahon.
Do you have a son?
I do have a son.
And what's his name?
Nick.
Nick what?
Nick McCon.
Why isn't it Nick McMahon?
Why aren't you an asshole?
I don't know, because I'm a nice guy.
That's bullshit. You're a liar is what you are.
I mean, if you're not going to... I know that part of your thing is,
Part of what
Shane,
thing? What are
Shane
you referring to?
Your worldview, your shtick is that Shane doesn't exist.
Oh, so now I have a shtick. I see.
Yes, very much so.
See, we're going to get very far today, aren't we?
I think
Continue
so.
the probe, sir, because I have a shtick, and if I can't get past the shtick, then fuck you, right? Is that right?
Yes.
So all right, fine. So fuck you. So ask me another question.
Well, I just said, when your son had learning disabilities in high school, you put him on Ritalin, is what you told Playboy. But when you were in school, there was no Ritalin. ADD hadn't been discovered. So do you think that's what you
I don't have a son named Shane.
Okay, but let's talk about what you do have. Did you have attention deficit disorder to your way of thinking about it? If there was Ritalin at the time, do you think you would have taken it?
I take it now.
Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting. How long have you been taking it?
I don't know. Since whenever.
Why do you take it?
It's fun.
How's it fun? What? How's it fun?
It's fun to take pills.
Okay, so you take them almost recreationally. You don't take them because
almost. I don't know about this almost crap, but yes.
Do you distribute them in violation of the Food and Drug Administration's?
I can tell you the thing. Now listen, any distribution of any sort of medical substance, whether it be Ritalin, whether it be steroids, anabolic steroids, I have never distributed any sort of substance, no matter what schedule it is, illegally.
Well, I'm sure we'll get back to that at some point, but I'm going to ask you something, Vince, and considering the ground we've already covered, this might be hard to believe. That's going to be especially hard to talk about, I'd imagine, but right. I feel obliged to bring it up. In the Sex, Lies, and Headlocks book, Sean Sale writes, in separate interviews, two of your longtime acquaintances remembered you describing your childhood as so troubled that you even once flirted with the idea of drowning yourself by walking into the sea along the Carolina coast. Wasn't easy, and I wonder if you could, suicide is such a pressing issue in this country right now. If you could take us into your own experience. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sure, there were times when the thought floated across my brain that maybe it was better that I off myself, that I be taken out of this world because of the misery. Because again, as we talked about last time, I was only aware of dog shit. My life consisted only of dog shit. And what I determined was I didn't need to commit suicide. No. Instead, what I needed to do, what would actually, it wasn't me that was the problem. It was everyone else. And I decided, hey, what can I do to make others want to commit harm to themselves?
What? So you took solace in the idea that you could get others to want to harm themselves? Is that really your answer?
I mean, yes. I realized
you had that thought as a young man in North Carolina contemplating suicide, that actually the answer here is not to address whatever's causing me to feel this way, but rather I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to make other people consider suicide.
make other people feel as I felt, because that's what it is. That's what the entertainment business is all about. Is about
that many of your
emotions.
You know that many of your wrestlers have committed suicide, right? That's not something to really say
I had nothing to do with that.
But you just said your goal was to make people want to commit suicide.
I didn't say that. I said that's what got me through that moment.
And you didn't have to act on that as the years passed. You didn't have to make that realize it.
I mean, listen, everyone is responsible for their own actions. I have never assisted in a suicide before. I have never assisted in somebody else's murder. I have never assisted in any sort of a violent act that would take another life. And to accuse me otherwise would be libel.
You're saying that more and more, I'm noticing.
I'm only saying the things that need to be said.
Let's take a closer look at your teenage years. You once told Playboy you majored in badass. You were unruly. You wouldn't go to school.
What's your obsession with Playboy? I mean, you love Playboy. So here I am. I'm the one getting these allegations, but here you are with this completely inappropriate nature of your own, like always, fingering through the magazine of naked women. Yet I can't enjoy myself in a sexual nature, but you can just do whatever you want in Playboy. God knows those pages are probably stuck together half the time because of your problems that you have and your own addictions and issues. But here I am, I'm the one, I'm the butt of the joke here. I'm the one who gets accused of bullshit.
Okay. You understand that all I'm doing is citing your most in-depth.
I don't know what you're doing. That's the problem. Okay. And I don't think you know what you're doing either.
Gave an interview in 2001 to Playboy. That was the publication it was in. I'm just citing my source. I didn't read that magazine. I didn't look at any pictures. I just found the text of the interview.
You disgusting degenerate.
It said you told Playboy you stole cars as a kid, but you always brought them back. Why would you steal cars? What was that about?
Well, it was what can you do? What are your limitations as a human being? What how far can you go without going completely over the edge? Can I steal a car and get away with it? Yes, I can. I don't need the car. But I proved to myself that I could steal the car if I wanted to.
You also told them you were running hooch. What was that about?
Again, same shit, different day. All right, we're talking about the me getting away with things that other people can't get away with, and I've been exercising that right my entire life.
So it really was just about proving that you could get away with it. It wasn't about just liking the car or even the thrill ride of having.
It's much no. It's not just the thrill of that. It's the deeper examination into your brain, into your psyche. It's about creating a confidence in yourself as a human being. What are my limitations? What can I do? What can I get away with? How far can I go? And I believe that I am limitless. I believe there is nothing I can't do. I believe there is nothing I shan't do. And I believe there is nothing I won't do.
Is there anything you can't get away with?
I mean, you tell me, pal.
Well, there's certainly you're up against it right now, Vince. You're up against it, as you well know.
Am I?
Very much so.
How do you? Tell me.
Tens of millions of dollars in hush money, Vince.
Am I? Is that against the law?
Could be. We'll see.
Could be. It isn't. And tell you what, I've broken the law before, and I've gotten away with it. I have destroyed the federal government. They tried to come at me. I beat them, and I'll do it again.
Even though you just admitted you broke the law.
It doesn't matter if I admit it. It matters if you can prove it.
Well, here's something that hit the papers that I guess is provable in that way. This is from the Durham Sun in 1961. Just a little glimpse. You would have been born in 45. 14 or 15, whatever it might be.
So we think that I've been born in 45. We don't actually know that I
I'm
was.
not interested in making that proviso every time I name a year. But
you're supposed to be the journalist. You're supposed to be the one who does care about these things, and you're acting like you don't.
So for someone who's been, in the public eye and in the media for so many years, this may have been your first media appearance, Vince. 4 persons were injured here. Let's see if I can get this pulled up. Okay. 4 persons were injured here yesterday afternoon in 2 separate automobile mishaps. Vince K. McMahon of Route 3, New Bern, North Carolina, and John Adams, 16 of Havelock, were reported in a satisfactory condition today at Watts Hospital, where they were taken after their car overturned on Page Road near Nelson yesterday afternoon. Yep. Highway patrol officers said the high school youths had become lost after McMahon drove past Raleigh in search of the state fairgrounds. What do you remember about this episode?
Well, I remember that we were, good old Johnny Adams. He was a good guy.
Yeah, second president of the United States, I've heard.
Yes, I see. It was a joke that you just did there. It's very funny. You know what you should do? You should be a writer or a stand-up comedian. We use comedy writers in the WWE. Would you care to send an example of your abilities and a sample of your writing skills, and we could, we could have you come on board, be a writer.
Yes, but should you really be recruiting, considering you've resigned your position and should have nothing to do with the
Have
company?
I resigned?
Well, I'm so sorry. I cut you off. What about Johnny Adams? What about this
Johnny
episode?
Adams was a good guy. We had some good times together. He was, it's safe to say he was a deviant of a certain nature. He didn't like to engage in acts, like to, rub up against the trees and, kind of get off doing that and shove tree branches up his ass. Just a fascinating individual. And this one time, What?
You guys, what is it with you guys copulating with forestry out there in North Carolina? Have you
ever been to North Carolina? Have you been to North Carolina?
I have. It's a beautiful state.
There's
Absolutely.
not much to do there. There's not much to do. Let me tell you that. There is not much to do, especially if you are a young youth at the prime of your life, and you are, you're trying to experiment with your, with all your sex organs. So, this one particular occasion, I said to Johnny, I said, hey, let's go for a ride. Let's see how fast we can go. And he was a little, he wasn't feeling very into that. He was more interested in sticking with the trees and sticking his cock in the tree holes and stuff. I said, no. I said, we're going to do this. I said, we are going to break the laws of speed. All right, we're going to do this shit. And so he fought back, and so I ended up tying him up and gagging him and forcing him into the front seat. And he and I went for probably the wildest ride that I had up to that point. Just driving at the crazy amount of speed and sharp turns and hills, and it would go down and up and would fly over the hills, and you should you should have seen the sweat coming down his face. Like, even that we were going so fast and so violent on the street that he got a nosebleed, and he was just, he was petrified, but he couldn't make a sound because I had gagged him, and he couldn't move because I'd tied him to the chair. And then all of a sudden, whoop, you hit one thing, and then that's it. The whole fun is over, and we flip, we turn, but really, luckily for him, he was tied up to that thing, to the chair, because otherwise he may have been killed. But here he was all right. He did all right. Never spoke to him again after that, but he was all right for the time being.
Was he the last Johnny you shared a thrill with?
I think you know very well that is not the case.
Can you tell me who else comes to mind named Johnny that you've shared thrills with?
Oh, there'd be, Johnny Ace, good pal, and I go way back. And also, actually, it's funny. I have had quite a few Johns really who have shared my own personal vices. Also, John DuPont, very big fan of him, and he and I have shared quite a few, adventures and drug use and sexual exploits and whatnot, things of that nature.
Chilling. Well, in terms of,
do you know John DuPont?
I know of him. I certainly know he's infamous, notorious to say the least.
You're damn right he is. Oh,
this came up in the
infamous,
the very sad Kurt Angle A&E documentary about his life because, of course, John DuPont shot his dear friend Dave Schultz dead at the Foxcatcher compound.
John DuPont did a lot more than that. Let me tell you that. He shot off loads, numerous women.
This article,
just a fucking. I mean, listen.
Okay.
Let me tell you this, all right? You say that here I am getting accused of all this shit. He's a monster. A monster.
I agree, and I think we don't need to talk about him. This isn't a show about him. It's about you. And this article we just read, where you got arrested for trying to find the state fairgrounds, says you lived in New Bern. Which is it? Is it New Bern? Is it Havelock? Havelock? Where the hell did you live?
I don't know.
Why are there multiple places you lived?
I lived in a trailer. I lived in a fucking...
Yeah. You said you lived in Manly, North Carolina.
Who the fuck knows where I lived? I don't fucking know where I lived.
Pinehurst, North Carolina, Havelock, New Bern.
I lived in a fucking in a trailer. We could move around, so I lived wherever I lived.
Oh, pardon me, frog in my throat. So you're saying you moved around in the trailer, and wherever the trailer.
I don't know where. Listen. I don't know. All right, I was an innocent human being trying to live my life, and I had a monster of a father who was acting like a bear all the time, and I don't know where the fuck I was any given time of day. I was probably on drugs too, for all I know.
Acting like a bear?
Yes. Have you ever seen a bear? Are you aware of the bears out there? The grizzlies and the browns and the black bears, all these different kinds of bears. They are animals.
They are animals. That's true. They're also professional sports teams.
Yeah. Well, great. I'm not here to talk about athletic endeavors. I'm here to talk about the fact that God knows what I was going through at the time. I don't know if he moved around or not, because oftentimes I was high.
You said you stole automobiles, but you always brought them back. You just borrowed them.
Yes, I told you it wasn't about the artifact. It was about, can I do it? Can I get away with it? Can I then prove to myself that I have this ability as an individual?
There's a fascinating picture of you in the 1962 Havelockian, which was the yearbook for Havelock High School in Havelock, North Carolina, where you grew up. It's got you and two other students. I think we have some art of that. Yes. You'll notice, yes, there he is, Vince Lupton.
Patsy McDaniel, yep.
What do you remember about Patsy?
Oh, I remember my cock in her mouth.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
How...
Actually, I think Eddie fucked her too.
What do you remember about Eddie? Any memories of Eddie?
No, he was an asshole.
Oh, really? What did he do to you?
Not what he did to me, what I did to him.
It makes him an asshole, what you did to him?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
What did you do to him?
I beat the shit out of him.
Why?
Because he was fucking Patsy. He was fucking Patsy after I came in her mouth, and he went to town on her, and I said, no, that's my girl. I get to fucking do what I wanted with her. You don't get to do that. That's not fair for you to do what you're doing. I said, God damn it, get the fuck off her. So I kicked him in the face.
Any particular reason why you look like you're 10 years old and she looks like she's 68 in this picture?
She might have been a teacher. I don't know.
Sure, it's a student yearbook, yeah.
I mean, but they do put the teachers in there as well. So listen, all I can tell you is that there were sexual relations going on. And I beat the shit out of Eddie.
Now,
and I'm not lying about it either.
I wonder if, well, that's good. I'm glad you made that point. now I wonder every time you don't say that if you might be lying, but I suppose it's my job to suss out the difference.
Yeah, a respectable journalist would be able to do that.
Right, exactly.
In terms of respectable,
I understood that that's where you were going with that comment. Thank you.
Because you're just a fucking bitch, is what you are.
What? I mean, do I have to fight you? Is that the only way this is going to ever end?
I'd love to see that. I would love to see that. Do you try to fight me, I would wipe the floor with you and then shit on you.
I don't doubt that. You're a strong man. You still somehow...
Yeah, look at you, a coward. You fucking backing off. Fuck you.
Yeah.
You're a cunt.
We're going to shove leaves at me?
That's what you want, pal. Get it done.
Oh, yeah? Well, do me a favor. Why don't you pull that yearbook picture up again for me? Producer, please. Thank you. Yearbook picture up again.
Yeah.
Can you read for me what the second name is off to the left there?
Vince Lupton?
Yeah, who's that? Is that you? Why does it? Tell me about that name. How did it feel having that name?
I see what you're doing. I see what you're trying to do. Let me tell you something. I was not Vince Lupton by choice. And I was never officially Vince Lupton. I was always Vince McMahon. And I will always be Vince McMahon. I mean, you look at that fucking article that you wrote that you read there before.
Yeah. Yeah, you're Vincent K. McMahon in that article.
K. McMahon. There's no Lupton. All right? That name does not exist in my universe. It is the name of a decrepit rapist
who died in Korea.
That's what you want to believe.
Once said, by the time I was 14, I was on my own. I was pretty much a man then, physically at least. In other ways, I'm still becoming a man. He said that in 2001. Do you feel like you're still becoming a man?
I believe that as that we are all still becoming men.
Even women?
In their own way, yes.
So you don't expect you'll ever actually be a fully realized man?
I don't think anybody is. I don't believe you'll ever be a fully realized man.
I knew that was coming. But you've called yourself the man, the Mac Man.
I am the Mac Man, yes.
So doesn't that make you a man?
Listen, I am a man. I am not a fully realized man. Will I get there?
What do you think it'll
Perhaps.
take for you to? Yeah. What do you think it'll take for you to fully realize manhood, as it were?
I don't know. It's one of the great mysteries of life. You know, what defines a man? You know, what is a what entails being a man? What is manhood? The hood of a man. You know, these are the eternal questions. You know, we don't know, what defines a man. We can only define ourselves. How do you define yourself?
As someone who's going to ask you questions until we get the full story.
Ah, great. Yes, I see. You're going to play your little fucking games. See, what defines you? You are defined as a manipulator. Oh, you are.
Really?
Yes, you are a manipulator.
Me, I'm the manipulator. Okay.
Yes,
all right.
I believe that you are, because you are trying to manipulate me into saying things that you want me to say.
No, not true.
See, how am I supposed to believe that?
First of all, it takes one to know one. Second of all,
I see. Oh, I see what we're going for here. Second, what? You're an asshole? Yes, I know. Third, you're a bitch? Yes, I know. Fourth, you should fucking walk out of here and jump in front of traffic? Yes, I know. Next.
You said the hood of man, so that means you are not circumcised?
Depends on the day. Some days I am what?
I just want to move on as quickly as possible, but please go ahead.
Some days I am circumcised, some days I am not circumcised. It depends on the day, depends on the woman, depends on the reality that I'm living at that time.
Well, the reality you were living as a teenager was obviously quite a bit of run-ins with the law, a lot of risk-taking activity, fighting.
That's the thing. I never ran in with a law. I got away with it. It's a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that, a run-in doesn't necessarily connote that you were found guilty of anything, but there you were in the papers getting arrested.
The paper, last time I checked, is not the law. It is simply reporting things that occur.
Police, the law do, right.
Not necessarily the law, not necessarily the police. I mean, the newspapers report, I mean, for all we know, those were simply, public interest pieces. Human interest stories right there.
Yeah, clearly
much like everything that we do with you is of human interest.
Right. Well, there you were, a ne'er-do-well, a troubled teen, and your dad, who obviously at this point is moneyed. He's running the New York-based wrestling territory, the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, Capital Wrestling Corporation, after having taken over the reins from his father. And he comes into your life, as we talked about last time, at around age 12, and becomes aware, according to past interviews you've given, about your pattern of, troublesome juvenile behavior, and springs for you to attend a private military school, basically a reform school in Waynesboro, Virginia, not too far from him in D.C., in the Blue Ridge Mountains. It was called and is called Fishburne Military School. So off you go to be shaped into a respectable man, if you will. And we've seen a lot of depictions of this over the years, and you've spoken about it. They called you Flex. And as we see here, Flex will always be remembered for the way he strutted around school, holding his head high. His most outstanding accomplishments were in the field of athletics and geometry.
Correct.
Vince plans to attend East Carolina College next year, after which he hopes to achieve the high ambitions that he has set for himself. President of the U.S.
Yes.
Just start with us, if you could. Orient us to Fishburne, what it meant to you.
I mean, what it meant? I mean, if again, here we are. What I was experiencing was dirt compared to dog shit. All right. So, I mean, think about it in this way. Here I am, a young man of consequence, and I am suddenly thrust upon my biological father, who I believe at the time was this, a titan. A titan among men. In reality, he's nothing but an ant, but that's neither here nor there. So here is this titan, this enviable individual at the time, and he sends me away to a military institution to quote unquote shape me up. Now, all that did was to create, for me, he didn't know this at the time, but all that did was create a bubble that I could commit my acts of whatever under this bubble and again, get away with it. I learned how to create a, I don't know how you describe it, but kind of a structure of sorts based on my involvement in the military institution that could be the facade of something that is organized, that is that is structured and whatnot, and underneath I could do what I always do, which is do what I want.
One of the things you wanted to do was try sports. You wrestled at Fishburne. You played football at Fishburne. Have here.
I did.
There's a few of you on the wrestling team. That's where you learned to shoot the half, and there you are in football.
I did shoot the half. I shot the full as well.
Yes.
Shot a full load every now and again.
And there's the beginning of the XFL, right? We're seeing here.
Absolutely. I suppose you could say that. The most successful football league ever.
Well, what was the Fishburne team you were on?
No, the XFL.
Didn't it go bankrupt?
No. We just were so successful that I said, you know what? We don't need to do this again.
You were so successful that you went bankrupt. Yeah, that you chose to go bankrupt.
I didn't say that. I never said we went bankrupt. I said, we did what we came to do. We created an alternate football league that was better, more exciting, more profitable than the NFL in many ways. I mean, look what they did. They stole from us all these different innovations. We didn't need to go beyond the first season each time. It was simply a one and done deal. I didn't intend to go beyond that.
Back to your wrestling was the other sport you chose, perhaps fittingly enough, having been a big fan of the pro style, if you will, coming up with your dad visiting summers and such in Washington, D.C. And I found an article in 1963 talking about you losing a 165-pound weight class match to Barry Alderson of VSDB, pinned you in 23 seconds. Do you remember Barry? What happened to Barry? Whatever happened to Barry?
I don't know.
Do you remember the match? That's a very quick time to lose.
I do. You know what? It's where I learned of the ability to create a finish that promotes intrigue.
Wait a minute. You worked that outcome?
I'm not saying I didn't.
So if you won, there had been no work. But since you lost, you're pretending there was a work there? This American work?
I am not pretending anything. I'm simply telling you that that as always, nasal, things aren't always what they seem.
You played football, offensive guard, defensive tackle, but you told Playboy, all I really knew to do is fight. So it was bring it on. When you got bare knuckles, you're hitting a guy with a helmet on. It's not good. I used to gouge eyes, go for the throat. A big kick in the nuts is always primo, you said. You hear the guy go, oh, and you think his ass is mine.
Yes.
Those are your prevailing memories of the football field?
What else would there be?
Why do you want to kick people in the nuts in football? I don't understand.
Football is all about physicality. Football is war. All right, football is war, and that was at a military academy. All right, it's about ground, taking ground. It is about conquering the other team. It's not about, when you're at war, we're not playing fair. We're playing to win. We're playing for keeps. So I use that strategy as we were in the military academy. I played for keeps. I wanted to win, and I wasn't going to lose.
But how does fighting, as opposed to scoring points or stopping plays, win in football? It sounds like all you did was get yourself disqualified.
I didn't get disqualified. I simply did what I had to do to win.
Eventually, as you put it, you were court-martialed at Fishburne. And you sort of, with a bit of pride, emphasize, it seems to me, that you were the first student in the history of Fishburne to get court-martialed, according to your knowledge.
Yes.
But what I want to focus on is not just that happened, but why it happened.
All right.
Now, you said to Playboy, when they asked you, why did you get court-martialed, you said for no particular infraction. And then you went on about how you did all these things. You stole the colonel's car. You gave his dog a laxative one time so that he could shit all over the place, which is just, your preoccupation with shit and humor about shit. Like, I just as well believe you conjured that whole thing up in your mind to amuse yourself and see if you could get it in print than actually doing it.
I see. So what do you think I did to get court-martialed?
That's my question.
Uh-huh.
Because you say no particular infraction, and then later you say insubordination. You say you had no respect for the military.
I'll say this, the exact same, that's the story of my life. The problem is they see somebody who is admirable, who is, that description of theirs is very accurate, head held high, strutting down the hallway. People don't like that. People don't like to see a confident individual like that. So what do? They try to take him down for any particular reason. Doesn't matter what the reason is, as long as we take him down and make him realize it is that my court-martial was no different than the federal government trying to indict me. But that's a whole different story anyway, because, well, I suppose we'll get there someday. But there is nothing. There was nothing. Just like right now, there is nothing. They want to take me down because I'm a success, because I beat the system because I beat the government, because I did it all.
So it says insubordination, and it says no particular infraction. And then on the aforementioned Matt Lauer show, here if we can pull up the second piece of sound from that documentary, you have a totally different story as to why you got court-martialed.
Maybe I didn't completely reinvent myself. I was the first cadet in the history of the school to be court-martialed.
He's accused of planning an impromptu trousers dropping on graduation day, a charge he vehemently denies. But the court-martial is halted by the unprecedented support of his teachers appealing to school officials not to dismiss McMahon. It is support he has never experienced before, and it makes an impact.
The military changed their mind. And I will always remember that because it changed my life. And I'll always be eternally grateful for them for doing that.
I have to say, Vince, it doesn't sound like some, rebel spirit there flouting authority and being proud of insubordination. In fact, it doesn't sound like insubordination at all. It sounds like you're just saying you were going to drop your pants at the graduation. Which is it?
That's exactly what I'm saying. It was for nothing. It was for nothing. I got court-martialed as an innocent individual, just like I was tried by the federal government for doing nothing. Just like I'm being dragged through. What?
You going to drop your pants at the graduation?
We'll never know.
In a theoretical world, if you were to drop your pants at your graduation, what would have happened next?
I don't know. It didn't happen.
You had no plans beyond dropping your trousers. I mean, we saw that on Monday Night Raw for years, where you made people kiss your ass, for instance. Might that have happened?
Did I have? Are you asking if I had intentions of making the officers of the military institution to kiss my ass?
Yes.
Believe me, when I tell you this, they already had.
How's that?
Because I beat the system. I got away with everything I wanted to get away with. I owned that fucking school. They kissed my ass because I owned them.
Now, there's the story about dropping trowel. There's the story about insubordination. There's the story of no particular offense. And then I'm reading the Charlotte Observer and a profile they did on, your North Carolina roots in 1999, around the time you took WWF at the time public and created a huge increase in the company's value. And they interviewed Philip Winter, who was an associate dean at East Carolina University, which is the college you went to after Fishburne. And they said it's all folklore, this idea that you were that bad. And the article reads, just how bad he was is hard to pin down. You did not respond to an interview request for the story. Your mother-in-law told the paper the stories about your youthful troubles were true. But here's Philip Winter saying there's a folklore. They probably want to protect their evil empire look and feel of things. He had just visited you apparently in Stanford at the WWF headquarters when he gave this interview. A folklore. It got me wondering if so many of these stories about your youthful indiscretions are perhaps exaggerated.
I see what you're trying to do here.
You want to see yourself as a young, cowboy that flouted all authority.
Why would I want to see it when I did see it?
When you ask others about you, it's like, no, he was actually a pretty quiet, composed young man. I wouldn't put it past you to just fall in love with this biography that you created out of thin air.
You see, there it is again. This is the whole thing. Don't believe everything you see. That's what we're trying to get there right there, right? That's what I've been trying to tell you. Don't always believe what you see on TV. All right? I have become a master of putting on a facade. All right? I'm the greatest magician there ever was. Misdirection. You
wouldn't have been court-martialed back at Fishburne for, I don't know, sexual assault, would you have?
If I had assaulted somebody sexually, maybe I would have, but I didn't do that.
Did not?
No.
And you were not court-martialed over sexual assault allegations.
Any sexual endeavors that I had at the military institution were not on an assault basis.
I'll tell you while I ask. You remember Johnny Valiant, of course, right?
I mean, yes, we have to, I suppose.
It's a great tag team attraction for your
I don't know
father.
about that. I don't know if it was a great tag team. It was not great at anything. He was
a
great at
manager of
I'll tell you
several.
what he was. He was great at pissing me off.
The manager of several heels when you took your company national in 1984 and 85, and served your company for many years.
He was one of those last remnants of the wrestling that I was getting rid of to create my entertainment conglomerate.
Now, he went to Fishburne with you. He was a classmate of yours, wasn't he?
I'm not aware of this.
Here's an article from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, 2018. When Thomas M. Sullivan, which was Johnny Valiant's real name, was a teenager, he got into trouble for bleaching his hair blonde in an effort to strengthen the rebellious streak out of him. His family sent him to a military school in Virginia where he met fellow cadet Vince McMahon Jr. At a time when the young Mr. Sullivan already was fascinated by the mystique of professional wrestling, the plan backfired worse than a powerbomb gone wrong. The wayward teen ended up getting tossed from the Fishburne Military School after he and Mr. McMahon were caught skipping a formation exercise. We have a new reason you were court-martialed, Vince. Does that jog your memory at all?
I mean, no, I didn't do anything wrong.
Was Tom Sullivan, a.k.a. Johnny Valiant, privy to all of your extracurricular activity at Fishburne Military Academy as a friend,
was he
classmate?
privy to? He was privy to some, sure, absolutely. We did hang out together. We did. Socially, we did bond on a number of occasions, and we did exchange in pleasant affairs.
I'll tell you why I ask. Because one of the things that's come out in the allegations against you in the Wall Street Journal and other media outlets is that in one particular case in 2018, you apparently had coerced someone into oral sex. And I guess the supposition would be that whether that is or isn't true, that an accusation of that level may have indeed been followed by people coming out of the woodwork and saying, yes, if this person's being placated or paid perhaps to not tell their story, I have a similar one where can I get paid for my silence, or perhaps looking for you to pay some kind of price. Folks that might have observed you being involved in indiscretions might have reason at that point to come forward. And my question is, that being 2018,
yes,
the article I just read was from 2018, April to be exact, and it was on that day and the occasion on which they're revisiting Johnny Valiant's history at Fishburne is upon the occasion of his death. He was 71, and he was struck by a vehicle as he crossed McKnight Road in Ross, Pennsylvania. At about 5:30, the paper reported, this is the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, he was walking, Johnny Valiant was, to a local bus stop that would have taken him downtown, where he planned to catch a 7:15 a.m. bus to his home in Queens, New York. He was hit by the car. Police are investigating. Said all indications so far point to an accidental tragedy. No charges have been filed.
Yeah, I had nothing to do with that.
I just found it strange that it's the same year that we're learning now this accuser may have indeed come forward, and he was court-martialed.
I can tell you that in no way have I ever been involved with the death of Mr. Valiant.
Well, honestly, I didn't bring it up so as to ask you if you had anything to do with his death. I was just pointing out.
I'm not. I didn't say that you did. I'm just saying, putting that out there, that I did not have anything to do with his death. His death was not my fault.
Did he ever observe you engaging in any sexual behavior?
Yes, he did. And I him.
Was there a risk back then that Maybe, as clearly people were coming forward, that he might come forward with what he observed you doing at Fishburne as well, and perhaps at WWF?
No. There was never any concern.
No risk. You can say with 100% confidence somehow that there is no risk of that. How can you be so confident?
Because I'm me, and there was no way that he was going to come forward with anything. Because there was nothing for him to come forward with.
Because there was nothing, right.
There was nothing, right. I mean, nothing that was done illegally. No one was coerced. Nobody was forced upon. If something happened, somebody was begging for it.
So disgusting.
So true.
How did you react when you heard the news that Johnny Valiant had been killed in a car accident like this?
I was very sad. And we mourned him in the ways that McMahons mourn.
But just to say,
I had some scrambled eggs.
You went to Sunday school, right? Growing up in North Carolina?
Sure.
And you went to Sunday school with a girl by the name of Linda Edwards. Is that correct?
I've heard that name before.
Her mother worked at the same Cherry Point Air Force Base building as your mom. And she was 13 when she started dating you at age 16. She became your wife. That's Linda McMahon.
Who?
Linda McMahon, your beloved wife, who I'm sure you're still very much in love with and sharing a bed with, as we've talked about before.
Listen, we share a lot of things. We definitely share a lot of things. We have shared in our lifetime.
What's key here is you start going around to her house upon dating her, and you told Cigar Aficionado, I had no idea what a family was until I met Linda and saw how they lived. It was an Ozzie and Harriet life. There wasn't screaming and beating.
Yeah,
talk about what eureka moments perhaps you had observing how your future wife Linda's family operated.
Well, I mean, we talked about, seeing the dirt from the shit before, and then now we're seeing gravel, one step above dirt and 2 steps above shit. I mean, at the time, this is what I believe was the most incredible family that I thought I could have. And, here I was, and there was nothing that aroused me more than to see Linda's, potentially normal family. And it made me, my sexual appetite was massive being part of this family. Massive.
So really, when you say aroused, I wasn't even going to interject and play my whole what card. I was just going to let it sit. But when you say you were aroused by the sight of this family, you actually mean sexually. You're sitting here
because
saying
here was something that I'd never seen before. A normal family.
Why is it always incestual with you, Vince? What
I
is
wasn't
it about?
incestual. This is not related to me. This is my.
But you wanted it, and you made it your family.
Yeah, well, that's the way that works. That you date somebody, and then you have sex, and you get married, and then voila, you have a family. So that's what I did. Linda's not related to me.
Did her family treat you well?
What was that?
Did her family treat you well?
Oh, yeah.
Carly Edwards, Linda's uncle, spoke to the Charlotte Observer in 1999, and she said that you were both involved in the church's youth group, you and Linda, and that she did not know you as a troublemaker, no way, and she knew you as a fine young man.
You ever have sex in a pew?
No. Does that have something to do with Pepe Le Pew?
No. I'm talking about a church pew. In front of Christ. Just pounding away. Getting my rocks off right in church. coming in front of Christ.
I mean, that's offensive on more levels than I could count if you gave me all day.
Not illegal, though. Totally legal. And I got away with it.
Linda's mother was on hand when you picked her up for your first date.
Oh, she was very handy.
She recalled to the paper, not thinking you were the kind of guy she'd want her daughter to marry. And if we can hit another piece of sound from the Matt Lauer show, this is our third piece of sound from that. Maybe we can get a little finer idea of what that dynamic was like for you as you're coming up in the world and maturing, or perhaps not.
I walked into church, and as soon as I did, you could feel the foundation starting to shake. Like, what the hell are you doing here? But in any event, I sat down in the pew, and immediately saw these beautiful blue eyes, and it was like, wow. And then, the choir stands up, to sing, and then I saw this statuesque, relatively buxom young lady, and I said, yeah, okay, now we've got some promise here,
Yeah.
It's a normal way to react, especially to a 13-year-old.
Hey, you know what? Nothing like a pair of 13-year-old massive tits.
All right. Rather sweet recollection there.
Hey, listen, it wasn't illegal. We were both underage, so it's totally legal.
You stop telling me things aren't legal. I mean, I didn't even ask you if it was illegal. I'm not. You keep saying I'm trying to lead you to answers and try to make.
You're trying to confess that I did these bad things. I'm telling you that I'm letting you know that what I did was not illegal. Okay. On the books.
Well, my point is, this isn't a deposition. You don't have to stipulate to that every single word you say. I'm not looking to catch you in an illegality. I'm looking to learn about. You think that's what I'm doing here, really?
You dig and dig and dig. You're a digger. All right? That's what you are. You dig. Because you believe something about me. You believe that I am a certain kind of individual, and you want me to come out and be that individual. But I'm not. I'm something better. And I'm better than you. And I'm better than everybody else. Because I'm the fucking best.
So, when you hear that tape back of you describing back in 2001, I think it was, or 99, you're being transfixed by what apparently seemed to be your first glimpse at your future wife, Linda McMahon.
No, that was somebody else. Linda was behind her.
So you weren't describing Linda in that clip?
No, I was describing there was another girl.
I was going to say, does she really have blue eyes? I mean, I was trying to find out.
I had sex with both of them at the same time in church.
After Linda graduated from high school, apparently you asked her to marry you.
Yes.
And you were married on August 26, 1966. She was 17 years old, and you guys have been together ever since.
Ever since. Happiest marriage of all time. Happiest marriage I've ever had.
Even when you stepped out on her 100 times and paid women millions of dollars to not talk about it?
We talked about this before. I'm not trying to hide anything. I have had sex with many women. Linda knows about most of them. Well, not most of them. She knows about a few of them. Now, I didn't pay them to be quiet for my own sake. I did it for them. I have to keep repeating this to you. I did it for them. And they knew that. Because if it ever came out that they had had sex with me, their careers would look bad. It was for their own protection. Shut up. Don't say anything. Because you will suffer for having sex with an old man like me.
You attended East Carolina University with her. You studied economics. You said you hated it. Sat in the back row.
Yeah.
Said it's about numbers, not people. So you didn't like that. Didn't like statistics.
I don't believe that numbers make money. I believe people make money.
Interesting, though, there in the yearbook, geometry seems to be one of your strengths. So I'm a little confused by that.
Geometry is about imagery and creating, the visual. It's visual math. It's not this, the written numbers. It's about the latent image.
You studied business administration at East Carolina ultimately and graduated in 1969.
Yeah.
Why business administration?
Great year, 1969.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
Good old 69.
The summer in particular, from what I understand.
Good old 69. 69.
Why did you study business administration?
I knew that I wanted to be in a business. I wanted to start a business, have my own business, and administer that business.
As for Linda, her mother spoke to the Charlotte Observer. She was her mother's only child.
Is that Meltzer's thing?
No, this is the one in Charlotte.
Oh, I don't. She has a newsletter.
Yes.
Charlotte?
Huh.
I didn't know that.
Linda's mother said to the paper, she has always been such a well-adjusted person. She's never had any problems, never was on drugs, never any of those things. The top of her list is her family. She's a very caring and loving mother. She's just so considerate of everybody, whoever it may be. She's never too busy to help. And as of you, she said...
Who said this?
This is your wife's mom. Your mother-in-law.
Well, she's been told a story, hasn't she?
She said of you, I'm very proud of him. I'm so happy that my daughter married him. They're happy and he loves her so much.
Yep, that is true. I did not pay her to say that. I didn't.
Nothing further?
What? Oh. What? I mean, I didn't pay her to say it. What do you want?
I can't believe you just said that. I mean, I can't believe you just volunteered. I didn't pay. Like, I wasn't even thinking of that until you said it, but now I'm sitting here wondering.
Well, now, see, who's the journalist? I'm thinking of all the different options, all the different avenues we could take. And I should be interviewing you about my problems.
Did marrying Linda introduce a certain discipline into your life, seeing her nuclear family, seeing the respect her mother apparently had for you and grew to have for you, going to college, graduating college? I mean, I think we even have a picture of you looking like a rather strapping fellow. Not really the youth of indiscretion. Looking very much like the Vince McMahon we'd come to know, playing television presenter and suits and at press conference daises and whatnot. Did you feel like she introduced discipline into your life?
In a way, sure. There was a discipline. There was also the pursuit of destroying discipline.
Interesting. You told Cigar Aficionado, my dad thought if I got married, it would stop me from graduating.
You ever put a cigar in a woman's vagina?
No.
All right.
You?
Yeah.
And?
It was great. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. I lit it too. Lit cigar in pussy.
My dad thought if I got married, it would stop me from graduating, he said. I knew that marrying Linda would ensure that I'd graduate. She's more structured. She's more disciplined. All I'd learned from military school about discipline is how to get around it.
And that's true. I can't deny that. There is I am not one to be harnessed. All right. I am a wild stallion. and I am not to be harnessed.
Next time in This American Work, we explore the attempt of Linda Edwards becoming Linda McMahon and her attempts to indeed harness this wild, unruly soul that we've spent so much time getting to know. His background. Can he cast aside the chains of his upbringing? Can he become more than the rapscallion that grew up in Havelock? See you next time for the next act in our story, Linda.